What it is, everybody, and thanks for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Today we're talking about the 959 here on my left to talk about, is this bike actually a good commuter? And I want to answer that because I've actually gotten a lot of requests and comments and messages about this bike, about why we don't really see this one on the channel well, and I don't really ride it much. Well, let me start off. Now that I've acquired more than one bike, meaning I just solely don't have a sports bike now, I tend to ride the other bikes such as the Grom, the Hyper, and the Cruiser, the X Diavo, a little bit more than the crotch rockets back and forth to work. Solely, you know, you're in nice clothes, you're crouched over, you don't want to wrinkle all your stuff. And it's easier to sit on something that's a little bit more upright and a little bit more relaxed. But most of all, nonetheless, that just doesn't get as hot. And here in South Florida, obviously that's a big deal that it's pretty hot here all the time. So the last thing you want to do is when you're off your bike, not only you have to readjust and fix all your clothes and do everything, is that now you're hot as hell, all sticky, and then you have to go into work. No, it just makes it for a miserable experience. I'd rather drive the car. Now during the winter time here, it's a little bit easier because it's cooler in the mornings, but it's still hot, of course, during the daytime, and which is great. I love winters in Florida. But I've driven now the 959 a few days back and forth to work, and I'm going to actually do this vlog a little bit different. I'm going to switch the scenery, and I'm just going to talk, and you're not actually going to focus here so much on the bike. Just a different type of vlog of me driving, just commuting back and forth here, and you get to see how the bike actually commutes. But overall, what I say is the bike actually a pretty good commuter. Well, out of the three, and especially for a V-twin, out of the three, it feels the lightest, even though it isn't the lightest, but it definitely feels the lightest. The bike is extremely flickable, super maneuverable, and way more comfortable than my V4. Because it's more comfortable than my V4, the seating position is much more relaxed. There's not as much pressure, of course, on your wrists. And after you own, the Cruisers and some of the other bikes that you're a little bit more relaxed on all the time, you're like, man, this is kind of nice not to be so uncomfortable all the time. And that's fine. It's no big deal. It really doesn't make, much of a difference. But I still wouldn't trade, any of them. So, does it get hot? Yes. Does it get as hot as the V4? Not even close. Does it get as hot as the BMW? I'd probably say it gets a little bit hotter than the BMW, but the BMW is also an inline 4, so it's a different type of heat, where the heat is more structured, more towards the front of the bike here on the BMW. But overall, if you're moving and you stay moving, even when it's hot, and I think it was about 90 when I rode to work, when I'm actually talking about and showing you guys this footage, it was pretty good. The only time it got a little warm here was in traffic, but then again, as you start to move, the heat will come away from the motorcycle and escape through the fairing outlets, and the heat will eventually vacate from underneath the seat. It's actually not that bad. Gas mileage on this bike is significantly better than the V4. I don't know about the BMW, but again, if you're beating on it, it goes to shit anyway. You're probably looking low 20s at best, maybe high teens if you're beating on it. But if you're riding around, I think they said like 48 miles a gallon or something. That's pretty spot on what this bike will do, as opposed to some of the other bikes that I have here that I've reviewed with bigger motors. They definitely don't play that well. The mirrors, my bike still has the mirrors, as you can see. I haven't taken them off yet. I plan to, because I personally don't like the way they look. But I definitely like the way these mirrors function opposed to the other bike, meaning my V4. Yes, they're still attached, they're fixed attached, but they don't vibrate nowhere near as much, which I find to be really, really good. since they don't vibrate as much, if you're willing to keep your mirrors on, if you'd like to keep your mirrors on as well with your turn signals and not use your hands, I definitely would recommend keeping them on. However, I would so not recommend keeping them on the V4 because to me, they are absolutely useless. As soon as you give that bike gas, it just vibrates like crazy, meaning in the mirrors, not the whole motorcycle. The bike vibrates and you can't see anything out of them. So, but overall, the bike is a good commuter. I haven't had any problems with it so far. The tires are obviously, I think they're Russo's. Much harder compound, much more street friendly. Still, when they get warm, they're still very sticky. Not obviously sticky like a Diablo Super Sport Corsa, but there's more than enough to ride around on the street and rip around a turn, and even drag your knee every now and then. It's not they're not a bad tire. So those are tires actually that I'm definitely going to be looking into, probably onto the V4 if I decide to ride that bike a little bit more on the street, or how I have here on the BMW, which I have some qualifiers. But overall, I have no complaints really about this bike. The biggest complaint that I have to say still about this bike has got to be the seat, because there's just not a lot of cushion in the seat. And yeah, it's kind of like a miniature track bike, so I get it. But I think if you replace the seat with more of the cushioned seat, and as far as a commute, you know, you got a short commute and you want to ride in style because the bike looks absolutely stunning. I think it's, out of the three bikes that I have, it's a really good commuter. It's a really strong contender against the S1000 and here this 959. Obviously, power is no match, but you know, riding this bike around town actually, to me, is a lot better than riding the V4 and the S1000. Solely because the V4 and the S1000, they're so fast and they accelerate so fast. I mean, you're in a split second, you know, double or triple the speed limit, and then you have to slow down because you don't want to risk slamming into the back of somebody and then it's over. Where this bike, to me, I'd classify, I think it comes with 160 horsepower, which is more than plenty. It only weighs like 400 pounds. Is more than plenty enough, you know, here for the street. For a stock exhaust, it's got a great exhaust note. It's super loud, and other people can hear you, and nonetheless, that it looks great. So I think for the street, I think this is the perfect amount of power level. Now, if you would ask me this maybe like 10 years ago when I was younger, I didn't give a shit. You know, I just faster. All I need is to go faster and stuff. But as you get a little bit older, you get a little bit wiser. Not everything has to be in such a rush. Going forward with that, if you want to ride a crotch rocket on the street, I think this is a really good contender here from Ducati. Now, don't leave out your R6s and your Ninjas and your Jigsters and your CBRs, because those are great too. Even your Daytonas and anything, KTMs and anything else along the lines that has that crotch rocket style ride. But Ducatis usually get a pretty bad rap of always becoming a track bike first and not being so comfortable for the street. And I will tell you, it's pretty true. They're track oriented first, street ridden second, as you saw on my previous videos that I made with my V4, because that bike is not friendly at all for the street, and that's probably the bike out of all of mine that I ride the least. It's just not that fun on the street, besides the fact that it looks really pretty. But this bike here, I will ride this on the street any day. And I was actually really on the fence out of all the bikes to go first. This is the one that I was actually going to sell first. And now I'm actually really taking a like more into this one. And I think that I'm probably going to hold on to it. I mean, again, anything and all these things are for sale, you know, for the right price. I'm not going to give them away. But I'm not necessarily saying that I have to make a bunch of money on any of them. No. They're just materialistic items. But I think if somebody is looking for a design first that has a great sport-orientated look, a great sport-orientated bike, but design first and foremost, definitely check out the 959. I really think it's a great platform. It's not the fastest out of the bunch. It's like in between that 750, you know, inline four, 1000 territory, you know, because the 1000s that are inline four will definitely smoke this thing, and it's probably a little bit faster than some of the 750s and a little bit slower than some others. But it's still, again, it's still got more than enough speed to get you hurt, to get you in trouble, to get up out its own way, and to most of all enjoy it, even if you decide to take it to a track day. But more than nonetheless, it's just super pretty. So I think that we're going to end this video off on here. I think it is a great commuter. Definitely go take a ride or take a look at one here at your local Ducati dealer. Again, if y'all like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. I hope this video has been most informative to you all, and I hope you learned a little bit about the 959. Don't forget to also check me out here on Instagram, the Speedbug. Same name here as YouTube, and we'll see you here for another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Deuces.